Best in the game. You guys holler at me whenever you're ready. There's no way Dak Prescott hits free agency. I'm pretty confident saying that. And those of you familiar with me, also probably pretty confident saying that too. And I know I'm obviously very guilty of being very critical myself, okay, which is a weird position for me to be in the first place because I'm used to being Mr. Optimistic. But after a couple deep breaths and like I mentioned last week, a bird's eye view, 30,000-foot view of things, some of the groupthink panic that's just like permeating throughout Cowboys Twitter and everywhere else you look, really everywhere you turn, it's kind of crazy to me, right? So I'm going to reiterate what I said last week. Okay? If it did resonate with anybody out there, it didn't resonate well enough. Comp picks, compensatory picks. When you sign players and build your roster, veteran guys, right, around guys who get cut, right? So if you sign a free agent, a guy who is on an expiring contract, just like we mentioned, then that cancels out one of the 4 comp picks that the Cowboys are slated to receive in 2025 for the departures of Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Dorrance Armstrong, and Tony Pollard. So 4 extra picks, right? This is part of the safety net in the event Dak Prescott isn't on the team next year. But that'll most likely be because he got traded, not because he hit free agency. Okay, anyways, besides the point. Those 4 comp picks, your safety net, you sign a guy in free agency, i.e. Derrick Henry, Frankie Louvu, Danielle Hunter, you name the player. One of those comp picks gets canceled out. If you wait until a guy gets cut before you sign him, so not on an expiring contract, somebody like Michael Gallup or, Eric Kendricks, perfect example, okay? He was a cap casualty. His contract did not expire. Cowboys sign him after he gets cut. Guess what? He's not classified as a free agent. Therefore, you retain all 4 of your beautiful comp picks here that you love so very much. Amazing how that works, okay? It's still very early. I understand free agency has come and gone. Very little activity, if any, right? Eric Kendricks was the lone outside free agent brought in. Just things on paper right now look very bleak, to put it lightly, okay? But once again, most of the departures, those are rotational guys. B and C level guys that got paid A and B plus money. So I'm with you with the frustration in regards to their approach to team building. I still firmly believe that you need veterans on the defensive side of the ball in particular to master that new scheme and minimize the learning curve and the acclimation period that will inevitably go along with that. Okay, the Mike Zimmer learning curve is coming, right? But you can still bolster that side of the ball in roughly 35 some odd days or whatever, once we start to see a lot more guys get cut. Okay, you can still add from outside your building. Now, as for Rappaport's report that made the big splash and the ripple effect across the entire NFL sports media landscape, it just went crazy. Okay, think about the timing. Right? We are, less than a month away now from the NFL draft, okay? Everybody in Frisco at the Star, in that building, that front office in particular, right? These guys are focused on the draft. Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer, most of them, they're trying to figure out their run game and the run D, okay? But the rest of that building, they're looking for 2024 draft. The Cowboys negotiate things. They like to wait till Oxnard to start their negotiation. It's just what they do. Okay, this should not be a secret to anyone. They're going to stick to their guns. We got that part, okay? Good. So now, one more time, as a group here, we're all going to take a deep breath. We're going to understand together, all pro quarterbacks, you can't let them hit the open market. Okay? You just don't do it. Should not ever happen. And then on top of that, we all should know by now, stop stressing about what Jerry Jones says all the time. Anytime he speaks, people freak out. Half the time, I don't even know if this dude really fully understands what he's saying, because it seems like he's talking in circles most of the time. But even when he does know what he's talking about, he knows how to get you talking, to get you panicking, and to get you pissed off. No such thing as bad publicity, y'all. Remember? Wipe the slate clean there. All right, don't let the Dak and the Jerry hysteria distract you from the task at hand, which is What everybody else is also focused on in that building right now, the NFL draft. Not so much, at least not yet, contract extension negotiation talks. We're shifting our focus to the aforementioned draft, right? Quite convenient that all this news drops in the wake of a first round player that the Cowboys are going to be counting on in 2024 to become an impact player, take that next step, right? Mozzie Smith, guess what? Out for 6 months. 6 months of get right, as I called it, for a dude that drastically underperformed his draft stock last year. Okay, lots of room for growth, literally and figuratively. The inexplicable 40-pound drop. You read between the tea leaves now. It looks like they're trying to say that was Mozzie's doing, which I find impossible to imagine. Okay, but somebody's got to fall on the sword, I guess. Name your scapegoat. Whatever. Doesn't matter anymore. Bygones are bygones. But Mozzie's got to get back to his draft weight, 330, get stronger, and then refine some of that technique. But Jonathan Hankins no longer in the building to help work with them. Right, so there's no real veteran presence outside of Carl Davis. And me and my guy Ben Larimore had an interesting discussion, to say the least, on I'm coming around on the Carl Davis thing a little bit more than I was. My whole stance has been it's not enough. Okay, well, guess what? Now it's not only is it not enough, what the heck is Mozzie going to do for himself now? 6 whole months of rehab. It's just 6 months really wasted of strength, power, technique, hand placement. Just get off. It's a massive loss. So now not only you were already going to have to add at least one more. Before Jonathan Hankins walked, right, I was saying you got to get Hank back, you got to get another veteran back. You probably still got to draft one. Now you're still in that same exact boat. Lots of work to do there. Next thing is Tyler Smith. Right, I think people are in a lot of ways forgetting just how good this guy actually is. And I've kind of been, more vocal, just expressing my hesitation, I guess I would say is the right way to characterize that, of taking an all-pro guy at left guard and then moving him to tackle just out of necessity. I think the best way for us as fans and media members to go about this entire topic is view Tyler Smith as the chess piece. Okay, it doesn't have to be black and white as far as which side you stand on of where he should play. All right. Let the board fall as it may at 24. Don't pigeonhole yourself into saying, he's a guard only. We got to take a tackle here. We got to reach for one. When you maybe had an interior player graded higher. But in the same token, don't pigeonhole Tyler in reaching for, an interior player that you have graded lower than a tackle that you would have otherwise taken. Tyler Smith is your chess piece. He's an all-pro already at guard. But on top of that, he was more than serviceable as a rookie who worked that entire offseason after his draft leading into his rookie season, right? He repped at left guard. Tyron Smith goes down, 10 days before week 1? So you got a rookie who's repping at left guard. Now all of a sudden, boom, thrust into the fire. Technically a more valuable position, right? Hey, here you go, kid. Good luck to you. 10 days to get ready. And he performed more than admirably, all things considered. Let Tyler Smith be your chess piece and let the board fall to you as it may. Moving forward, you guys are going to hear me say this a lot, and I also want to express as much emphasis on this as I possibly can. We've done this for 3 years now, okay? The importance of the 30-visit list, guys that the Cowboys are bringing in for personal interviews, right? They're doing an extra deep dive on. All right, we know that offensive line is almost a guarantee between rounds 1 and 2, okay? But another position of need, a sneaky need for this team that we should not rule out. Brian Thomas, keep an eye on that one. Wide receiver is not all that deep, okay? Think about a year from now where this team could be. Like right now, you got expiring contracts coming up for Brandon Cooks, Kevontae Turpin. CD's not going anywhere, but that's 2 guys right there. And Jalen Tolbert, we still have no idea what to really expect out of him. He's entering year 3 now. Past that, not a ton to get really head over heels excited for, okay? So we're going to monitor the wide receiver position very closely as well. All right. Now, let's talk about the draft. And to be honest with you, I really didn't anticipate waiting this long to get this deep into it. But, at the same time, I also wasn't fully prepared for this lethargic of a free agency period for this team, even though I should have been, right? I've laid out reasons as, for why this team could potentially act towards the contrary of what they usually do, okay? That didn't happen, right? Once again, they're sticking to their guns. But That 30 list, man, that 30 visit list. We've already been discussing on here for weeks now why on day one, especially, really even, the first 2 or 3 total picks in the draft this year for the Cowboys would be devoted towards the offensive side of the ball. That 30 visit list agrees with that. I think right now on that list, and you're seeing it right here, there's 5 or 6 offensive linemen with a first round grade. That's pretty telling, at least to me. You get a really good feel for what they're possibly thinking here. I've been trying to hammer this home already, and it's part of the passion and the frustration, like I said, for the Tyron stuff, the way that whole situation unfolded. Quality players aren't just readily available in this league. It's an epidemic of talent and depth at the offensive line position. And once again, I know people are confident in TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman, but are you sure that you want to roll out 2 UDFA first-year starters side by side next to each other along the interior of the line of scrimmage, where interior pressure is the worst kind of pressure? Ask any quarterback that. They'll tell you that. So I know we all like TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman and are very pleasantly surprised with the work that we've seen, albeit very limited. But I don't believe smart teams are going into a brand new season counting on those 2 guys side by side, nonetheless. And that also ties back into the whole Tyler Smith thing. I'll reiterate that one more time for y'all, okay? He's your chess piece. This is not he's strictly a guard. At this stage of the game, right now, this is April 2nd now. Today's April 2nd. Half of this video was recorded last Thursday, so March 27th or whenever that was. I don't even know at this point. Life is crazy right now with 2 babies, 2 and under. So April 2nd, Tyler Smith is not strictly, in my eyes, this is the most reasonable way that I can view it, okay? It's one of the hottest topics on the block right now. He's not just, in my head, specifically a guard or specifically a tackle. Okay, originally I was team leave him at guard because that's where he's best, and I still firmly believe that. But if you want to tell me that we're sticking to the wait and see approach, okay, we're not pigeonholing ourselves into either of the 2 positions. If a tackle that they like falls to them at 24, that's the highest graded offensive lineman that's on this 30 list left on their board, take the tackle. Leave Tyler Smith where he is, already an all-pro there. If the highest player on your board is an interior offensive lineman, Jackson Powers Johnson, Graham Barton, whoever, there's a couple other guys there, and you've got them graded well above the otherwise top-graded tackle left on your board, then take the interior offensive lineman, and then you can have the discussion, talk about sliding Tyler Smith out to left tackle again. It really, to me, doesn't have to be much more difficult than that. But still, Will McClay and Stephen Jones and company, the rest of the college scouting department, are in a tough situation right now because, they may like the ceiling of a guy, like the potential of a particular player, much more than a guy who makes more sense for right now. Are you actually all in? Like how much of a voice does, Mike McCarthy have in the draft room? If he's on a 1-year deal, man, he doesn't his future is unknown at this point. Same with Dak Prescott right now. Right? Last year it was more projectable guys that you take. And, tight end is a tough position to translate from college to NFL, right? Because guys not only have to develop as blockers, right? They have to completely refine their pass pro technique. That's a really tough thing to do. They've got to master a new playbook, right? They've got to work on their hands and their route running and all that stuff. So they're like offensive linemen and receivers all in one. So there's a lot to digest there. It's a significant learning curve and acclimation period. And the same thing is true at the defensive tackle spot, right? Especially when you're trying to change who a guy is inexplicably. I still don't really understand that, but neither here nor there. That was a more projectable draft. Okay, and so far it hasn't projected anything considering both guys are now having surgery. So this year, what do? Are you drafting for maybe, are you valuing pro-ready guys now more so than you would a potential ceiling 1, 2, 3 years down the road? How do you view it? I think it's a tough position to be in, man. The guys that, we're going to have a pretty good idea of how competitive the Cowboys feel that they're going to be based on the pro readiness of the players that they take early on in this year's draft. That's just my opinion. And to me, that's the approach that you 100% should have. If it's my team, if I'm the GM and I'm building my team my way, your core of players is ready. Yeah, you lost 10 guys in free agency, but that's not your core. That wasn't the core of your team. The core of your team's still intact. So you should be looking at plug and play guys right now. I mean, that should always be the case in round one, right? You want those guys to be day one starters for you. That's not that, not breaking news there. But that approach should also continue on day 2, and then again on day 3. And then again with the UDFA pot, which that's another interesting discussion too, that it's a very below the surface topic of discussion in regards to the way the Cowboys team build. The players that they bring in are like routinely at the top of the signing bonus figure list amongst all 32 teams and like what they spend within their UDFA class. Cowboys ain't scared of doing that at all. The reference I made a few weeks back, it's like a bodybuilder getting on stage and trying to win a competition, but they skip leg day and back day. Legs being just completely avoiding the trade market, back being completely avoiding free agency. All they do is focus on chest, traps, buys, and tries. And that's it. They got no back, they got no legs. If we really want to get technical about it, they really had no backbone in the postseason against well-coached teams that knew exactly how to beat you. The Bills laid the blueprint for it, right? Copy, paste, rinse, repeat. The backbone of your team, you couldn't run the ball, you couldn't stop the run. That's why you lost. I digress. But I just laugh at it, and I don't really know how much it matters at all. But to me, it's just funny that this is a team that's most willing to spend, like they spend the most money on undrafted free agents, but the least money on their coaching staff to develop guys that other teams didn't want to draft. That's an interesting conundrum. Looking at this board, man, it's quite telling to me. 4 or 5 offensive linemen on the list, almost certainly going round 1. That's what you should expect. Day 2, it's looking like 3 or 4 linebackers or running backs that they've brought in that have day 2 grades. Okay, so round 2, linebacker or running back. Round 3, linebacker or running back. That's what it's looking like right now. An all-in draft, to me, looks like drafting guys that are going to help you run the football, and then also drafting guys that are going to help you stop other teams from running the football on you. Talisi Fuaga, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Graham Barton, Zach Frazier, Edgerrin Cooper, Peyton Wilson, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy if you want, Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks, Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen. I mean, all but 2 of those guys I just named right there are on the 30 visit list so far. Seems like they're kind of hinting towards that, but we shall see. Okay, we're going to keep tracking this and discussing more players that make more sense and kind of breaking down things that are happening behind the scenes and, falsified storylines or whatever that get spun out there, narratives that people run with just because they hear one person say it. Okay, Dak Prescott does not have a $95 million cap hit if they were to move on from him or whatever somebody said out there that everybody's running with lately. Okay, it's 40, but I'm going to end this video the same way I started it. Dak's not hitting free agency. Don't forget last week's topic. If you missed that one, please feel free to go and watch it. I'll have it for you right here. There might be some hope. Okay, despite all the hysteria that you're getting lost in right now, there might be some hope. It's still early. It's only April. The Cowboys are focused on the draft right now. Okay, so don't panic about the contract extensions. Yes, CeeDee Lamb should get done. Yes, Dak Prescott absolutely should get done. Bringing in guys who are cap casualties, players who get cut, adding them to your roster, just like they did with Eric Kendricks. He doesn't delete a comp pick for you in 2025. Okay. They value those. That's just who they are. That's what they do. So you can still build, you can add veteran pieces. I'll be looking closely. Veteran pieces on the defensive side of the ball before the season begins. Once guys start getting cut here in about 20 some odd days, give or take. That's all I got for today, man. Happy belated Easter to everybody out there. I'll talk to you soon.